Ole, 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 ole. So it has finally happened. Ole is at the wheel permanently full-time, and I'm super excited about it. Of course, it could all go disastrously wrong. I think there isn't a manager in the world who you could say, yes, this person can definitely come in at United, overcome the structural difficulties, overcome the kind of collective psychological difficulties that have happened in the wake of Alex Ferguson's departure, and the fact that the team haven't proven themselves consistent in all of that time. There's a big uphill battle for Solskjaer. The competition for the Premier League, whoever comes second this season is going to have got a points tally that would have won the league almost every season in its existence. So, you know, there's going to be fierce competition. Spurs are moving into their new stadium. If they actually start to spend some money too, there'll be an even bigger threat. Arsenal potentially on the up, although we'll see about that. And of course, if Abramovich ever decides he actually wants to make Chelsea great again, then he could probably put some money towards doing that, I think it's fair to say. So there's big competition out there, but it feels so good to have a manager at the helm, and this is the ultimate reductionist cliche, who gets United. Like, just, I know how ridiculous it seems. I know that loads of fans of other teams mock United fans for saying that, you know, so-and-so really gets the club. But Moyes definitely didn't get the club. Van Gaal most assuredly didn't get the club, and Mourinho has never got anything other than the great of glorification of Jose Mourinho in his life. So to have a manager who is a United person, it just feels lovely. To you know, I wanted Solskjaer to get the job in 2014 when that would have been an utterly ridiculous thing to happen, but it's true. I remember seeing this MUTV documentary following him around at Mulder, and it was in the height of Moyes just talking down United at every opportunity and just being so miserable and so kind of charismaless. And Solskjaer was like on it, and he just had this thing about him, and he thought, oh God, I wish our manager had something about him, you know. And now he definitely has, because Ole's in charge. Now, I think there's a lot of really practical, sensible reasons for appointing Solskjaer. One, he's got a bond with this group of players already, clearly. He's clearly got a massive tune out of them. There's been a little blip recently. We'll see if that is something which rectifies itself quickly or not. It's going to be really fascinating to see. Two, I think he has a degree of tactical flexibility in his locker, some of which we've already seen, but I don't think we've seen the half of it. Three, he's clearly a collaborator. He's got good people around him and knows how to use them while still being very much the boss. Three, I think as a coach, he's somebody who wants to learn and grow. If you look who he's following on Twitter, you'll see that he follows a lot of accounts which are about coaching and about growth and stuff like that, which I think is really interesting. And the final reason, I've lost count of the number, that's why I didn't give it a number, is the emotion of it, is sentiment, and how in football that is not meaningless. Sentiment is really meaningful in football. The only reason we got a point against Liverpool was sentiment. The connection between Solskjaer and the fans, and what Solskjaer has kind of given in terms of being a kind of catalyst for a connection between the fans and the players, was what enabled Old Trafford, the atmosphere at Old Trafford, to be as incredible as it was, and for that atmosphere to have such a kind of lifting effect on the stadium. We've all seen it. We've all felt it, apart from the few Mourinho holdouts. Good luck, lads. We've all felt the lift. We've all felt the massive boost that Solskjaer has brought in. And it hasn't just been feel good for the sake of feel good, but feel good is not nothing. Many trophies have been won on the back of the feel good factor at football teams. The feel good factor enables people to be the best version of themselves, and ultimately, being a football coach, being a manager, is entirely about enabling the people around you to be the best version of themselves. So there are some issues that we need to resolve. The issues around structure at the club. I think we can't continue to be in a situation where Ed Woodward is a de facto director of football and every season he picks an agent and outsources the role to him. I think that would be insane. I do think we need some structural change at the club. It's going to be really interesting to see. I don't know if this has been announced yet, whether the staff is going to remain the same, because I think the Phelan, McKenna, Carrick dream team seems to be really highly regarded, so that'll be important. We'll see how Solskjaer does himself in the transfer window in terms of his targets and his taste in players and that sort of thing. But right now, as I was frankly when the last two managers were appointed, so what do I know, I'm really optimistic about the future of United. And the difference is, for sure, it's really nice to love the Man United manager with your whole heart again. So I'm going to enjoy that for now and have the Stone Roses ringing around my head for the next 6 months at least. I don't mean you should only be given 6 months. I mean, we'll see whether after 6 months it's still as feel good as it is now. But I think there's every reason to believe it can be. The hard work starts now. I'm sure he'll have massive support and credit with the fans, and as he definitely should have. And it's going to be fascinating to see what happens. So, come on, United.
So the only decision's been made. I'm pretty happy. I think a lot of fans are pretty happy. You have got some that are grumbling, especially after those last two defeats against Wolves and Arsenal. But largely, I think as a fan base, we're pretty pleased with Ole getting in. I think he's done a good enough job. That's 19 games. I think it's only 3 defeats, and one of them was PSG, which he managed to turn around. So can't really complain about that. I think the Wolves defeat was pretty damning, simply because realistically, that was our last chance of silverware. Champions League's looking quite a stretch considering the run we would have and who we've got next anyway in Barcelona. But I think it gives him a chance now to show what he can do. I think already he's given us like different looks in terms of improving players, which is a massive thing. I think we need to have a manager that improves players. We need a manager that's tactically astute, and he's shown us that in multiple games as well. So I think these next few games just gives him a chance and gives us a chance to see what he can actually do in these big games. Obviously, getting the top 4 would be massive for us. We would be outsiders considering the fact our running and then the run that Arsenal have and Spurs and that sort of thing. But it's not impossible. The same way you win the Champions League is not impossible. It's unlikely, but it's not impossible. The top 4 is more likely, and I think if he can get that done, then there'll be less complaints. I think the signings that come in next, that director of football, absolutely key. Obviously, the talk about director of football's got a bit quiet, and I think getting one in would be a massive help for him. I think the signings, obviously there's been discussions already about he knows who he wants and who he wants to get rid of. And I think if he gets that right, it makes his job a lot easier as well. So yeah, I'm happy with it. I think a lot of fans are happy with it too. So let's just see how it goes.